folks, welcome to another Fiddlehead Fiddle Lesson. Very special guests today, two members of the band Major Powers, Kevin.
Hi.
And Nick. Over here I'm tickling the ivories, and this lesson is part of another in the part of a series on how to play on songs. What the heck do you do if you're a fiddle player and you want to play on a song? So we're going to play this song, and then later I'm going to show you kind of what I did and talk about that, so you can get kind of an idea what you can do when you're with your friends sitting around playing music. Okay? So, take it away. Thank you. Thanks, guys. That was fun.
My pleasure.
Good set.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
All right, so I'm going to talk about what I did on that song with the violin. Those guys came over. They had already recorded the song, and they wanted to add violin to the recording, so we did what's called overdubbing. They came over, and I played and recorded some parts using violin on their song that they ended up using. And how did we come up with those parts? Again, the question, what do you do on songs? And so those guys wrote the song. Actually, Nick, the piano player, did, but they arranged it together, and they basically coached me through the song. And so I'm going to share with you the kind of, but it was a conversation. They'd say, like, try to play with the guitar, and I would say, how does this work? Does this kind of like, so when you're playing, if you haven't played with other people, especially if they're a songwriter or a singer, try to support them, try to find what's going to be right for the song. Okay. Ultimately, the song is like the dictator, the benevolent dictator. Listen to what's going to be right for the song. Maybe it means not playing for a little bit. Definitely try to do that. Try to lay out sometimes so that when the fiddle comes in, it's like, oh, there it is. Okay. So another general note. All three of us made various little mistakes, but what is a mistake? It was just doing something different than we had planned. We had a good idea, some good ideas for what we were going to do. We had recorded them, but then when we played it, like I know just a few times it came out different, and you just roll with it. And it's kind of fun in that way. And sometimes you end up coming up with things that are better, or at least more interesting because it's more unique to that moment. So they're not even mistakes if you look at it in that light. All right. And it just turned out to be really fun. So, okay. So starting the song, did some chops. All right. So just kind of like a snare drum in a drum kit while the piano is going in the beginning. To do that, I just hold the fingers lightly on the strings and bounce the bow. You could do that too. There's a whole kind of style of playing chords with the chop. Which I can sort of do. I'm working on it. And maybe I'll do a lesson on that someday. Daryl Anger is a well-known violinist, fiddle player who uses that a lot. And I forget the name of the fiddle player who invented it. If I think about it, I'll put it in the discussion comments below. Okay, so after that, I played this riff with the guitar. All right, so sometimes there's just something in a song that you can double up, a part you can double, and it sounds great when you do that with violin. So there was violin and guitar, and then later when he starts singing, I lay out then, I kind of clear out, let a little space happen for the ear, and then halfway through the first verse, actually halfway through the first two verses, I come in later playing the riff again, which is also the vocal line. So it's just kind of nicely musical, like it's a supportive thing to do, And it seemed to sound good. Ultimately, what sounds good? You may have, maybe this idea of doubling a part won't always sound good. But in this case, all three of us thought it sounded nice, and so we did it that way. All right, so that's roughly what I did in those riffs. The second time, or I think the third time that riff happens, I do a harmony. So I'm not going to actually explain single notes in this lesson. I'm just talking more holistically about what happened. So there, that harmony though, I will say, the main part starts on D low 2. And then the harmony started a third above on open A. All right. And one of the vocals did that harmony as well. So again, it's sort of supporting that. During the chorus of the song, we didn't really have any violin part when we recorded it. So I was like, well, I could lay out, but I decided not to lay out. I decided to do a support thing of playing another percussive thing. If you have a classical teacher teaching you also, they'll probably scold you for doing this, but I just slap the top of the fiddle. It's a nice little trick for getting a cool percussive sound. And then I also added, as if like this were the snare, this were the hi-hat of the drums. So it's not really, the tones that aren't really in tune with the song, but you can't hear them that well when all the other instruments are going. You could also use the wood of the bow. In the classical speak, that would be col legno. All right, so I did that on the choruses. So just a couple more things to finish what I did on the song. On the bridges, which are the sort of weird, scary parts, I'm just doing a line that walks up. And I'm doing a combination of things, like, I don't even know what that's called, but I'm sliding around the note. It's actually a good thing if you want to learn vibrato. Doing it really fast, so it sounds kind of like a weird horror movie vibrato. It's not actually vibrato. And then I also play near the bridge, something you avoid when you're a beginner, but I use this as a special effect, so it almost sounds like a screaming electric guitar. It's a really fun, cool sound. Again, I don't recommend it for beginners, for more if you're advanced. And it's somewhat unpredictable. Sometimes the overtone will jump really high. And then I basically did steps up, 4 steps up, then 4 higher steps up, and on and on. And I don't feel like showing it to you. I don't think it's worth learning. I just wanted to give you, again, general idea, this weird part that we all cooked up together. I had this sort of sonic way of playing, and then we kind of built this part together with that. And then Nick, the piano player, suggested doing this thing at the end of the bridge, which is sort of like a chromatic scale going down. And so we had that in place, and we were almost done. And then I think Nick suggested at the end he wanted sort of a bluesy riff at the very end. So and he was like, do something like do 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 do. So just sort of play it off of that. And then using kind of a lot of the ideas that I show in the videos on variations, basically taking that simple little melody and coming up with ways to vary it. I call this thing the throw. Throw all your fingers down. Or melodic, kind of tweaking the melody, adding notes from the scale. Or adding a rhythm instead of just straight. Add like, stuff like that. And that's, I think, pretty much using broad strokes, all the stuff I added with the tune. Hopefully that was helpful, not too long-winded. Let me know if it was. You can tell me. I can take it. And that's about it. If this was useful, let me know. I'll do more of these kinds of videos. I'm thinking, like, I have some more friends who are songwriters. I'll have them on, and just because that's kind of a cool way for them to share their songs with you. Again, these guys, their name of their band was Major Powers, Kevin and Nick. And in the future, I also might just take a standard pop song or folk song and add a part, create a part with that, and maybe have a friend come in and play that. So, but let's talk about this together. Like, what do you need to know about this? Is this, So anyway, talk to you next time. So long. Bye.
Thanks for watching the video. Love you.
Excellent.